This is Bootstraps by eXPO in downtown Denver for our third podcast. The first two were really exciting. We had some great guests, and the feedback has been off the chart, phenomenal. Today, we have some special guests that I am really excited to talk to from Seed & Smith at 5070 Oakland Street, right near the airport. When you're leaving the airport, come right over to Seed & Smith. So today we have two gentlemen, Parks McMillan, he's the director of cultivation, one of my favorite topics, and my second favorite topic, Nick Bruick from extraction. And I noticed, Nick, that you have a background in chemistry. Is that a normal situation where extraction people have a background in chemistry?
I think it's becoming more common, absolutely. Maybe not in the early days when it was more just people getting into the industry as extraction was emerging. But what I'm finding, through the hiring process, through people interested in joining in the industry, there's much more of a push with that science background.
So what do you find most challenging in the extraction part of the business?
To be honest with you, it would probably be expanding production. It's a great problem to have, but basically keeping up with the sales team as far as producing what they can sell out the door.
Interesting. So you have very aggressive salespeople, and you need your partner over here to be able to grow quicker so you can extract more. Is that what I'm kind of hearing?
Yeah, I would say definitely the bottleneck is not the grow at this point. I think the amount of product that Parks is producing is more than enough, but we're really in our early stages in the extraction, so there's a lot to go as far as equipment upgrades, personnel upgrades, to reach the potential we have.
So Parks, cultivation, one of my favorite topics, conversation. I visit a lot of growers all over the country. Everybody has the best growing facility
Sure.
in the country, the biggest, grow the most, yield the most. Tell me a little bit about your background and what you're doing now to extract or to cultivate the most product that you can in the square footage you have.
We're looking to not be necessarily the biggest, but definitely focusing more on the best. We've brought a high level of automation to our facility that's allowing us to produce at a lower level of cost than a lot of the larger facilities. Some of them now are upwards of several 100,000 feet. To where we're roughly 15,000, but we're able to compete still because of this level of automation. My background was actually marketing, but I moved to Denver about marketing actually. In the recession, the bottom fell out there, and so I had to make ends meet. So I kind of fell into marijuana and ended up absolutely loving it, and just kind of been pushing since.
Yeah. No pun intended on the pushing, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So how many square feet do you have in your cultivation center?
We're roughly 15,000 square feet.
15,000.
Yes, sir.
And what strains are you specializing in?
We have several. We roughly have 24 that are always in production. We've always wanted to keep, you have to stay with the fads that's, the genetics are. You have to have the cookies, these new genetics that are coming out, but also we want to keep in kind of the classics. We try to keep a sour diesel on the shelf. The things like Blue Dream, where a local may be tired of seeing this. Somebody that just came from North Carolina. These are the strains they've heard about for years or read about in High Times, and this is still something they're interested in. And we want to meet both markets. Not only the connoisseur that's located in Denver, right, but also the tourists that are making their way to Denver as well.
So eXPO specializes in compliance and the banking services, as you're aware. In the state of Colorado, they utilize Metric for tracking. A lot of controversy on the whole track and trace system. Walk me through where you start cultivating and when you put the tag on, and how does that transfer internally in your tracking system over to extraction?
Certainly. We start as the plant, to be compliant, as soon as the plant reaches a 2x2 pot or it reaches a height of 8 inches tall, I think, or wide, it has to be tagged with a metric tag.
And describe to me what that tag is for the people
It's
that
an
are listening and don't know.
Yeah, it's an RFID, which is it's if you've ever been skiing, to where you have your ski pass and the lifty can buzz you with his little laser, that we can actually have. It's a tiny little computer chip inside this tag, so it allows us to track these plants as we move them physically throughout the facility. We have to make sure that not only are we physically moving these plants to a different stage of growth, but we're having to do that in our metric tracking as well.
Okay, so you put the tag on at about 8 inches,
Yep, exactly. At transplant.
and every so often somebody's scanning it, or do you have an automatic scanner?
We're actually scanning them. We'll actually batch them by the group in which we transplant, and they'll move through the stages of development as a group, as a batch, as a metric refers to it as.
Okay, so all these plants, and roughly how many plants are you growing at any given time?
We're about 2,800 at this point.
2,800.
Correct, which is
Wow.
again very small compared to some of the facilities.
Sounds like a lot to me.
It's a lot, but there's
It's a lot of water, huh?
It is.
How much water does a plant take a day?
Depending on the size of of the plant and where it is in its stage of growth, anywhere between 1,000 mils or 500 mils up to a gallon, something like that.
Okay. So you have this plant tagged, this metric system that Colorado utilizes for tracking, then moves it to the next stage. And then you harvest a plant, 3 months roughly?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Then what happens when we come over here to extraction?
Well, we physically, being that they're another license, our logistics team, after post-harvest, will actually transfer it to our MIP license, and then it's in the hands of the MIP at that point.
Okay. So Nick, how do you tag oil?
So basically, the plant material comes to us on the existing tag, and then as we process it, basically any work we do during that day would be considered in process. But before we go home at night, we're going to make new tags for any oil product we've created. And not necessarily just oil, we're also extracting terpenes via CO2 extraction. But basically anything we do, we're actually going to convert the tag from the grow license or that the grow initiated. We'll convert that to a new tag that's under our license that represents the weight of the oil that we've created.
Wow. The industry has really figured out a way to track all that. So now we're going to go to a gram or some other product, and then you transfer that to a barcode for resale, or how does that work?
So as far as I understand, most of my batches are going to be bulk batch, just like the grow.
Right.
So when I send it back to logistics, it's going to be a bulk tag, and then it's our logistics team that then converts that into gram increments, ounces,
I see.
eighths, or what have you.
Interesting.
And then they basically will transfer that to the dispensary, then it's in their hands as far as the retail side.
Okay. So then I guess the next question is, what is the most challenging thing that you experience in the entire growing operation, from the initial plant all the way to moving it to an extraction format?
I hate to put it on one particular instance, but following compliance is one of the most ever changing sides of our industry. We have a number of people that are constantly studying these changes, and it's kind of it seems like we're throwing darts at a board sometimes of following where we're going to actually change.
Is that state changes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so give me an example. There's a lot of people that are watching our podcast that have no idea about what goes on behind the scenes. They walk into a dispensary and they buy something. But it's fascinating, the entire system that goes on behind it. And I always have people calling me saying, tell me more about what goes on behind the scenes. So without giving any trade secrets away.
Sure. One of the biggest thing was a couple years ago was the CDA, the Colorado Department of Agriculture's involvement in our pesticide usage. What we had done for since the really the creation of the industry here, all of a sudden overnight changed, and to where we no longer were able to use systemic pesticides, and now everything has to be organic certified, which I think is a great step in the right direction. But I was a little disappointed in how it was handled, and again it was just an overnight change,
Right.
and and that's a big change for a cultivator. We had to completely learn a new methods, and
Wow.
the facilities weren't designed for organic growing.
So Parks, growing is an art, and we've had a few people sit here already, and I know many that have been growing since they were 13, and I always make the comment, I was chasing girls at 13. I wasn't thinking about marijuana at that time. But there's two types of growing, right? Soil, organic, and hydroponic. Which one do you all incorporate?
We kind of balance the two. It's incredibly difficult to grow in soil organically, at the scale that we are. At the same time, we're in a cocoa core substrate, and that kind of is the balance between a strictly hydroponic and soil. So it allows us, again, to have that level of automation that you find with hydroponics, but you're also able to get a little bit broader terpene profile. You're able to have a little bit higher microbiology colonies in your cocoa, as opposed to rock wool or a strictly hydroponic medium.
Okay. So they say organic soil tastes better. Is that accurate?
It is. Again, that's why we're trying to balance cocoa with the level of automation that you get with hydroponics.
Right.
We're able to add some organics, and so we're getting kind of the best of both worlds. Our product will stand up with any soil product, I believe. I really think so.
Okay, good. So pesticides is a huge discussion point all over the country.
Sure.
We are in the compliance side of the business. We meet people all the time who are cutting an edge here and there. And I'm always mystified how somebody could use D2 or some of these other pesticides, and when they get over to the extraction, it just blows out. I don't know the official term for that, but if you have a little drop of pesticide in something and now you're going to extract it, it magnifies many times. Do you make all of your product from your grow, or do you also buy from other growing facilities as well?
So we're doing both right now. There is a lot of business to be had in outside processing. There's a lot of large facilities that just don't have the extraction technology or the MIP license to process their own, and we're absolutely happy to do it for them. I will say, the fact that we have our grow in the same facility, we know what's going into their plants.
Right.
It's my favorite to run our own in-house.
So you're not running anybody else's, it's all internal?
No, we do both.
Okay.
So
how do you ensure that the other guy is giving you good stuff, good product?
So right now, honestly, there's not a lot of testing on the input material that's coming to us. The way we mitigate that is our cleaning SOPs for all of our equipment. So basically, we are taking the steps. We have dedicated solvent tanks to clients, for instance. So if we're running another client's material, the solvent's coming from one tank. If we're switching over to Parks's material, we'll actually switch a tank that's dedicated to that, as well as a very rigorous cleaning procedure on the extraction equipment itself to ensure there's no residuals left behind from other material.
That sounds a lot better than some other things I've been hearing out there, where they have to take the product off the shelf when they find out it's been poisoned, and people are inhaling things or eating things that have been poisoned. It's a scary situation, right?
Sure. I think working with people that our sales director find that are credible business people in the industry, I think that helps as well. Again, it's tough to know who you're going to be dealing with.
You finding it to become better now since a year ago when it seemed to be hitting a peak of disaster, in my opinion.
Our MIP, unfortunately wasn't yet open. So, I can't really speak on, where it was a year ago. But, I've heard horror stories, about, like you said, a whole batch, having to be taken off several shelves. And if you're, distributing to several stores, that'd be a PR nightmare,
So one of the things that we recognize, I personally recognize, is the compliance side of the business, which in my world is the IRS and the state auditor. There's been a lot of controversy about tracking money to production. So we created a software system that will track from seed to income statement. We call it seed to CPA, integrating and locked in each step so that the accounting accounts for everything all the way through, and then the IRS can't call BS when somebody has lifted the material or the information off and stuck it onto QuickBooks or something of that nature. So what system do you all use now in your tracking that works with metric?
We're currently using BioTrack.
Okay.
I think it was a big pharma tracking tool,
Yeah.
and that's kind of integrated to marijuana.
Right. Well, we should get together and later and talk about that, because we have a lot of people converting now from BioTrack to ours because we are somewhat of an ERP, if you will. In fact, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they said they were really excited about the fact, this is Illinois, they just lost their last bank. And they've all used BioTrack there. That's the state program. But they were really interested in the fact that the plant is the parent in our scenario. And then when it's harvested, it becomes the child, and the new parent is the batch. Then the batch becomes the child, and the extraction material becomes the parent, and on through the process, so you can track it all the way through. So we'll all get together and talk about that a little bit now.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about my favorite subject for a minute, and that's cash.
Okay.
So you got all these people coming to buy product now. You told me a little story before the podcast started. So give me a scenario of people that are getting off the plane, coming here from Alabama or other places around the country, and many of them have gotten onto my 420 tours or some of these other transportation sides. What do you all see when they first walk in? Describe that experience when somebody first walks into a dispensary for the first time. What's their reaction?
It's exciting now. It's growing it to me. Having the tour on site. And again, and we invite you guys to come out and see. It's like kids on Christmas. Nobody from Alabama has seen anything like this. At most they'd seen an eighth or a quarter of marijuana, and now they're looking into a 3,000 square foot grow room. With 80 pounds of marijuana growing in it, and
I thought that was really cool that you said that they could actually see the grow and I think the extraction as well. It reminds me of some of these popular restaurants where you can actually watch the food being cooked, so you know what's going on there, which is really exciting.
Yeah, the owners of our company, Truman and Brooks, designed our facility after Celestial Tea in Boulder, which is a just a small tour that walks you through a production facility that makes tea packets.
Sure.
And so what we've done, or what these guys did, the business model was basically to kind of mimic that, and we want to show the consumer what exactly goes on. We want to show them. We've got a video that shows them the cloning process all the way up to the vegetative state, to where they can actually, we have large windows that they can come in, they can see these plants, they can see us working on them. We felt like that breeds not only, transparency, but also shows the quality that we're striving for.
Sure. So when I took the tour at Coors,
Mm-hmm. Very much like
right? I went through, and at the end they gave me a beer, but I think we haven't gotten to that point yet where we can have a smoke or a taste of food or whatever.
I think that's coming up the pipe. We've got an empty lot beside our facility, which we're looking to, judging on how the social consumption laws change,
Right.
to where eventually maybe that's something that we could do. Have some
Sure.
food trucks, or maybe have a small music venue, to where somebody could get off that airplane,
Right.
come and have somewhere to safely consume their product and not have to worry
Right.
about legalities.
So speaking of that, kind of leading you along here, we bought a company called weedstream.net. Have you heard of that?
Haven't yet.
So weedstream.net is a really cool radio station, plays music, and we decided to create culture within the environment. So we're going to begin now for our members. So to become a member, we do a little background check on the company, and the consumers or the consumers become members of eXPO, and we then are going to start doing, somebody described it as a mob scene, I described it as a pop-up. So we're going to do Saturdays and Sundays from 11 to 1 and 3 to 5, 2 different locations, bring out a band. We have the weed streamer, if you've ever seen that. It's a wind streamer that's been converted into a big lounge.
Okay.
In fact, we had a lot of interviews in that from musicians. We do a lot of events and so forth. Jared Polis spent an hour in it the other day at one of the 420 tours. So it's a planned event. We email out to all of the people that live within the regional area, and we have them come and experience the opportunity of that particular location. So we ought to put you down for one of our future
We'd love that. Yeah,
future
we'd
events.
love to hear some music, and
bring hundreds of people at one time.
that'd be great.
We also created a program. I'm interested in your feedback on it. We have a financial center. It looks like a large kiosk, and it has a 32-inch screen on it. We're going to run broadcasting for events, music, and then we're going to run commercials all day long, which we share the revenue with our clients. But we're creating now augmented reality. You remember Pokemon?
Yeah.
So we're going to email all these people that live within a zip code or two and say, go to this location between 9 and noon and look for the bouncing ball in the broadcasting and type in the number on the ball or on the yellow sleeve or whatever it is that we're doing and win a prize or win prizes. And we're going to run advertising every 15 minutes for 30 or 45 seconds promoting products for MIPS in other people's locations and in your own. What we want to do is not just be a banking, but we want to be more than that. So we wanted to help drive more business. What do y'all think about something like that?
I mean, I think it's a great idea. I guess I like the idea of the regionality. I think something that may be lost over time is like not necessarily the cannabis industry as a whole for Colorado, but to actually bring it more to the like local neighborhood level,
Right.
And kind of mainstream it as, it's not this wild industry that exists, but something that really is integrated into communities.
Great. Glad to hear
Absolutely.
you. That's exactly what we were trying to bring.
No, absolutely, I couldn't agree more.
So great information. I'm really excited to come out and look at your location at 5070 Oakland
Please
Street.
do.
I guess my last question for you is, as an industry as a whole, if you can wave the magic wand, what would the one item be that you'd like to see changed to improve the industry?
I'd love to see the scheduling drop from 1 to 2. That would allow for, marijuana to be used in medical applications and to reach a larger patient population. My mother was recently diagnosed with ALS, And to be able to see her, this is back in Alabama, and to be able to see her get the medicine that she needs,
Right.
that would absolutely help her out, would be an incredible improvement in our country, in my eyes.
For me, absolutely agree. Moving the status down to Schedule 2, and on my side, it would be the research it would allow in the biological effects of the different cannabinoids, the different terpene profiles, really what that can do for people. I would love to see more research done on a federal level that supports that.
It's a long, long time coming. Back in the 30s and prior, almost every type of medicine had some type of CBD or THC in it. I have an old picture. I need to bring it out one of these days. And it had all the Lever Brothers and the different types of pharma products out there, and it all said contains, and it would have some percent. You've seen these. Unfortunately, there were a few egregious people that decided to change all that in 1938. But I had my adult children tell me a few years ago, in our lifetime, this is probably 2010 or 11, it'll all be legal, and I thought they were kidding. But
Pipe dream, pun intended.
a pipe dream, exactly. Well, thank you very much for coming. I encourage those that are coming into Denver to visit the Seed and Smith. I'm looking forward to going out and meeting with them this week at 5070 Oakland in Denver. First stop from the airport. Stop in, take the tour, buy a lot of product, more the merrier.
Please do.
And appreciate the fragrance of the cannabis products. When you walk in, you know where you're at right away in any location. Remember, my mother came here from Florida a few years ago. She was about 80, 81. Said, "Take me to a dispensary I got to see." And the first thing she said when she walked in was, "Wow, this smells really good." I actually thought it was horrible, but I've come to learn to appreciate it over time. And now Florida is becoming legal now, and so every podcast I make a new announcement. Have one now today. We are now moving eXPO into Florida, Pennsylvania, and Illinois, and hopefully we have Nevada right at the heels behind it. So looking forward to watching you guys grow, no pun intended, and coming out and enjoying your location.
Excellent. Good luck with eXPO.
Thank
Absolutely.
you very much.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you coming today.
Thank you.